available. It's posted. The QR code will be shown here. It's a very cute filter that you can try to show which thematic area will you be joining this afternoon. And of course, you can also sit here in our very cute mats and our bean bags. Don't be shy. It's open for everyone. So let's just wait for a few minutes before we start our program. Thank you. now go to the restroom if you want. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Distinguished guests,
Youth leaders,
ladies and gentlemen,
welcome to the Youth Summit 2023 on Transforming Education on Southeast Asia. Give us more energy. Give us more than that. Yes. That's what should a Youth Summit be.
my name is Trim, and the APMSC Youth Advocacy is an platform which extends the world and with innovation and success. It is my honor to be here.
Thank you so much, Tim. And hello, everyone. I'm Joshua. I'm a queer youth, climate, and human rights activist from Silliman University in the Philippines, working towards youth inclusion and climate action in decision making in human rights and just energy transition. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all here at the Southeast Asian Minister for Education Organization Regional Center for Innovation and Technology. I know that's a lot, but you can just say SEAMEO INNOTECH, here in the vibrant city of Quezon in the Philippines. I know we have a big script, and we, the youth of Southeast Asia, recognize that quality education is the most powerful tool to empower people and solve the global crises of COVID-19, gender equality, and inclusive environment. We are working towards transforming commitment to action. This moment is more than just an assembly of the best and brightest young minds in Southeast Asia, but this is also a testament to our collective commitment to reimagining and transforming education in a region known for its rich cultural diversity, resilience, and innovative spirit.
And education is the most important thing that will transform our life. And by transforming education, we are transforming the world. And when education emerges with innovation, it accelerates our impact and actions for COVID-19 recovery, sustainable development. Education is the only way out for youth, for our country, for our world. And education is sharing. Sharing hopes is sharing lives. Everyone here can learn, and you can be a teacher and a learner. We can learn from one another, and that is why we're here, and to network, to learn, to collaborate from different cultures, and together we will create new solutions, new innovations for our world. And this summit is very special because it's organized by youth, with youth, and for youth, and assisted by SEAMEO INNOTECH, a core group of 7 SEAMEO Asian youth organized this summit with more than 2 months of intensive preparation. So we have Elon, Situ, Peggy, me, Veronica, Joshua, and Prem. Can we please stand up
Can
and
you
give
please
them?
stand up?
Yes.
Yeah, so they are the core group who work towards creating this summit along with SEAMEO INNOTECH. So we can really say that this summit, we are not just mere like passive beneficiaries, but we are active players in shaping and transforming our education.
Sure, thank you. So you are our hope, you are our future, and our agents of change. So right here, we begin shortly by inviting you all to please stand up for SEAMEO and Trans of Colors Invocation and Philippines National Anthem to be led by Mania Concert Choir.
And we may all be seated. So thank you so much to the Manila Concert Choir for that amazing rendition of Lead Me, Lord, and for singing the Philippine National Anthem.
So that's great, Josh. Thank you. It was an amazing day here at the Quezon City in Manila.
Yes, indeed. How you guys feel
Feeling
about
today?
Quezon City?
Woo!
Is it good? Is it good?
Yeah.
Prem, let me ask around about how they feel in Quezon City. Yes, he's my friend. I ate breakfast with her.
Oh, hi everyone, I'm Swing from Singapore. I'm really happy and honored to be here, and the energy level is great. And just so excited to see everybody and looking forward to meet more of you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much,
Thank you so
Ying.
much.
Can you find other one, Prem?
Okay. You want to ask from this side as well. So, how do you feel about the city today?
We feel honored and proud to be here, and this is really nice. The place, the design, it's very welcoming. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
and
very much.
all of us are also very colorful, wearing all colors. So yes, indeed, it's very happy here in Quezon City, and we are here for a two-day summit building on the outcomes of the Transforming Education Summit Youth Declaration. This two-day session will highlight the role of the youth in championing resilience building and will present key recommendations for effective intergenerational, intersectional, and gender-inclusive partnerships to accelerate COVID-19 recovery for sustainable development with quality education at the forefront.
Yes, I agree, George. And we are now joined more than 200 delegates from diverse backgrounds and identities from education professionals, teachers, entrepreneurs, youth leaders, and students across 10 Asian countries in Southeast Asia.
Yes, so can we give a round of applause for everyone here? There's 200 of us from 10 countries in Southeast Asia. That's very amazing. And aside from that, we also have our participants from our Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. So can we all say hello to them?
Hello.
They're on our camera there, so let's say hello to our participants joining us online. And please let us know where you're joining us from by commenting in our comment section.
That's true. And now we must get to know one of another. So we come here as a strong region with one shared goal to transform education, Josh. So now we will say hello and greet each other in our respective countries.
Yes, so are you ready to say hello to each other? Are
Yeah.
you ready?
Are you ready?
Guys, let's show that this is a youth summit. Show some energy. This is a youth summit. Come on, come on. SEAMEO might just cancel this if we're not being very youthful. They might send us home by tonight. So let us show that you're very young and very youthful. So let's say hello to everyone. So we will acknowledge your country. And when we mention your country, you need to say hello in your language. And the audience should follow. So is that G? Are you G with that? Yes. So for example, Prim and I will do it. For example, I will call on Thailand.
Okay, so we will stand up from Thailand and we will say Sawadee ka.
Yes, and the audience will also answer Sawadee ka. So did you get that?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start from,
Thailand. Okay.
where's our friends from Thailand?
Can you please stand up?
Woo!
So Thailand,
One, two, three.
Sawadee ka.
Audience,
Okay,
1, 2, 3.
Sawadee ka.
Yes, that's the energy that we love. And next, how about our friends from Cambodia? Cambodia,
Yeah.
Cambodia, yes. 1, 2, 3. That's the second one in green. Chum Rep Sur. Okay, audience, 1, 2, 3. Chum Rep Sur. Yes. And I think the biggest delegation, because we have the home court advantage,
Yes.
Philippines.
Philippines.
1, 2, 3.
Kamusta?
Audience, 1, 2, 3.
Kamusta?
Yes. Thank you.
And now we would like to invite the delegate from Vietnam. Can you please stand up? We have delegate from Vietnam.
Yes. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Xin chào.
Xin chào. That's the bottom of the orange bubble. Audience, 1, 2, 3.
Xin chào.
Yes, thank you. Aside from being a summit, this is also your foreign language 101 class. And next, we also have Myanmar. Yes. 1, 2, 3. Mingalaba. That's in yellow and blue. Audience, 1, 2, 3. Mingalaba. Yes.
Thank you. And now we would like to invite the delegate from Malaysia. You have the delegate?
Yes. One, two, three. Oh.
Yeah, sure.
Apa kabar? Yes.
Thank you.
Who did made that PowerPoint presentation? You will hear from the center director later. Just kidding. Yes, sir, you say you will forward a formal complaint? Just kidding. Thank you, sir. And thank you from delegates for Malaysia. Next, I think we have a lone delegate from Timor-Leste. Yes, she arrived at 5 a.m. early this morning. That's the commitment that we love. Okay, go Veronica. 1, 2, 3. Hola! Yes, thank you so much, Veronica. Next, our friends from Singapore. Yes. 1, 2, 3. Audience, 1, 2, 3.
Hello. Next up, we have our friend from Indonesia. Indonesia.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Selamat pagi.
Not also there. I think someone will be fired today. Can we have that again? Salamat pagi. Okay. Audience, 1, 2, 3. Salamat pagi. Yes. And lastly, we have from Lao PDR. Yes. 1, 2, 3. Sabaydi. Sabaydi. 1, 2, 3.
Sabaydi.
All right. They are also there. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. So wonderful. It was so great to hear from youth across ASEAN, and we have to know hello in 10 countries. And now we have a diverse group of youth education leaders with us today in Transforming Education Summit, right, Josh?
Yes, and it's amazing to listen to the symphony of languages. That's the sound of unity and diversity, the sound of Southeast Asia. Thank you so much, everyone. And before we continue, I would just like to acknowledge our sponsors who made this summit possible. Let's give them a round of applause, please. It's a surprise. So it's taking 10, 9. So let's count off to show the sponsors. 8, 7. Oh, it's already there. That's how fast SEAMEO is. Someone is afraid to be the second to be fired today. So we would like to thank our friends from UNICEF, from Southeast Asian Ministers of Education Organization, or SEAMEO, the HEAD Foundation, UNESCO, the Department of Education of the Philippines, the United States Agency for International Development, Education Development Center, ASEAN, SEAMEO, STEM-ED, SEAMEO SEPS, SEAMEO Technical Education Department, and Ribisco. Saya ng pagsasama, sarap ng bukas. Yes, Prim, and to officially welcome us all here at SEAMEO INNOTECH, I am honored to introduce the Center Director of SEAMEO INNOTECH and a former secretary of our Department of Education, and of course, my fellow Suleimanian, Dr. Leonor Magtolis Briones. Let's give her a round of applause.
A round of applause.
I wish I were 20 years old again, but that is more than 60 years ago. Believe it or not, there was a time when I worked very closely with the youth organizations in the Philippines, and we didn't play games at that time because the issues were serious, so we went to rallies and we screamed, we carried placards and so on. And this is a wonderful transformation of how the youth can convey their views on what our policymakers could do to take care of them. Focus on the youth is one of the major thrusts of SEAMEO INNOTECH. We know that we must ask them. Policymakers pass laws, legislators, bureaucrats issue memorandums and memoranda, and teachers tell us how to behave and give us tests. But we have to hear from the young people themselves. After all, it is your future. The time will come when you will be running your respective countries. The time will come when you will be occupying positions of responsibility. The time will come when you will demand change. And so you have to give feedback to the policymakers, feedback to the people on what you consider as important for you in the future and in the world which you are going to manage, which you are going to run very, very soon. So we're very happy, and we congratulate all the participants who, in spite of the series of natural occurrences, had the courage to come to the Philippines. We're very happy that all the SEAMEO member countries are represented here, accompanied, of course, some of you are accompanied by other officials. We welcome them equally. And someone asked me when I was interviewed, what makes this youth summit different from other youth summits in the country? And my answer is that, first, of course, it is regional. So you have a comparative experience of what is happening in your respective countries. Secondly, we are gathering together different experiences, and we also want to showcase, unnoticed by the public generally, many of the activities, the programs, and the projects which young people themselves have initiated. And I think we are thinking about 72 or more than 70 youth-led projects. I also say during interviews that and you have experienced it yourself a few minutes ago. This is a youth-led summit, and we have had very serious consultations. All this will keep out of the way, and the program was designed by young people, the topics, the people who should be invited. This is the show of the young people. Now, what will happen? One former congressman asked, what will happen after the summit? I said that any resolution or any proposals that you can come out with by tomorrow will be submitted to, in the case of the Philippines, our policymakers. This is the Senate and Congress. The bureaucracy, these are the ministers and heads of agencies, and of course, media and the public. I hope that you will also do the same in your respective countries. It's really time that we pay attention to you. We had it's very tempting always, especially for grandmothers, to say, during my time, we were like this, you hold the hands of a girl and you have to get married. During my time, etc., etc. But you have to think of your time. What do you expect in your time? And how can we adults, how can we who propose policies assist you in fulfilling or responding positively to your advice? Now, I also have a last suggestion. Maybe it might be difficult, but perhaps since you are going to submit resolutions, advice, suggestions, you classify them. For example, there are proposals which require the change of a constitution in some countries. There are proposals which require a law. And there are also proposals which any minister or bureaucrat can implement without having to go through the usual process. So it would be a good thing to classify these proposals and these pieces of advice that you're going to give us so that we know to whom we are going to submit the resolutions. Once more, I am very grateful, and I enjoyed the earlier part of the program where it's so different from the usual formal thing. No dress code, which I am sure you welcome very much. And this is your show. And I would like to repeat the message of our mayor, Mayor Joy Belmonte. You're all welcome to Quezon City. You're all welcome to SEAMEO. And you're all welcome to the Philippines. Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you very much, Dr. Biernas, for a warm welcome to Philippines. And that would be great for us to hear from different young people about our future, different youth-led projects over here. And then we even will have a youth declaration that will be submitted to ministries and head of agencies. We're so great, and we're still looking forward to that amazing 2 days event.
Yes, thank you so much. I agree, Prim, and it's also very important what the director said about it's our show, and we will submit recommendations in really transforming our education systems in our own country and hopefully in the Southeast Asian region. And in addition to that, we're also here to
have an increased understanding of and take greater ownership of the Youth Declaration on Transforming Education, which is over there, right here.
Yes, we will have a quiz on that later. Those who will not pass will not have their lunch pass. So you will just buy your lunch somewhere else. Next is we're also here to share and learn from the innovations and working models of education transformation on the ground.
Yes, and then we will also gather young people, collective will, and youth-led concrete action to transforming education.
And also to collectively undertake advocacy efforts to ensure effective implementation of the concrete actions.
And in these 2 days, we will offer recommendations to strengthen the youth network in Southeast Asia and connect them to the global youth movement.
Yes, and I'm so excited. But before we continue, here are some housekeeping reminders for all of us for a more meaningful summit experience. Number one, practice active listening and take notes. We all have our notebooks and pens in our kits. We also have a Wi-Fi access. The username is INNOTECH, and the password is SEAMEO 2023. So you can post your Instagram stories. Please make sure to tag SEAMEO INNOTECH. And our restroom is just outside the door, and we also have a first aid station there. And just in case that we don't get very comfortable with the topic, please feel free to go to any core group member or to the staff of INNOTECH or go to our self-care session area. It's a very open space for all of us. As the director said, this is our summit, this is our show, so if you don't feel comfortable in this space anymore, you can just leave for a while, breathe some fresh air, and take care of your mental health. And lastly is that this is the very important one. Use the hashtags. Hashtag Youth Summit, hashtag Transforming Education, hashtag Leading SDG 4, hashtag Southeast Asian Youth or CYouth, and tag SEAMEO INNOTECH at SEAMEO INNOTECH on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And to continue our community even after the summit, please join the 2023 Transforming Education Summit Facebook group.
Okay, yes, Joshua, thank you very much for all the housekeeping notices. And now at this point, Joshua, I would like to ask you, why did you join the summit?
Yes, I think this is a very important opportunity, right, for all young people to be here, to contribute our voices in transforming education. And me personally, I want to put climate education at the center of transforming education.
Yes, sure. And now we are in state of just passive beneficiaries. We are shaping our own education right here, and as partner and collaborator in every step. And youth are taking actions everywhere in the world, and now we are given the chance to reshape and transform education.
Yes, and as mentioned, we will be submitting our recommendations to the ministries, to our own governments. So it's very important to grab this opportunity to voice out our concerns, our recommendations, our ideas, our insights on how transformative education looks like in our eyes.
Yes, and youth are the game changers. We have different innovative ideas that we great to hear from all of you. And to get a more valuable insights on transformative education agenda, we would like to be joined by two amazing women that's working on transforming education. Ms. Somaya Mahanoj, our consultant and the UNESCO Multisectoral Regional Office in Bangkok. Can we give her a big round of applause? And now we would like to invite the next speaker, Ms. Maria Melissa Tan, an adolescent development specialist from education section from UNICEF Philippines.
Yes, let's give them a warm round of applause. We'll give the microphone over to them.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'll also say good morning in my own home country. Assalamu alaikum. So I'll give just a short intro to a process that started last year called the Transforming Education Summit, and also tell you about some of the ideas that are ongoing globally about how we can keep the momentum of this transforming education agenda in the coming years, and how the fantastic work that you'll be doing in the coming 2 days fit within this broader picture. But before that, I just want us to collectively think about the word transformation and what it actually means. I think that's very important to just reflect about the meaning of the word. Transformation has two very important components. There's a prefix, trans, and form. And if you look at the definition in the Oxford Dictionary or any other dictionary you want to refer to, it is about a thorough and dramatic change of form or shape. So transformation is not any change. It's a change that will thoroughly, dramatically transform and change the shape of the education system. If you want to think about it, think about a house. When you say in English, oh, I'm going through house transformation, you do not mean, I'm just changing a little bit the decoration of a room, I'm changing a carpet, I didn't like the color, this is so 2020, going to update the color scheme of my house. That is not transformation. This is just home decor design. Transformation is you're maybe getting down one of the wall, changing what you will be doing with this room. Maybe this room used to be a nursery, and now it's becoming a home office. So this is transformation. And this is the scale at which we're thinking. And just a question for everyone. Can you think about a date? When was the last transformation of education in Southeast Asia or in sorry about that. That's maybe the microphone telling me that this is a good question. So when did the last transformation of the education system happen? Anyone has a guess? Shout. Is it recent? Not change. I'm not talking about reforms. Transformation. What was the last time we saw a systemic transformation to the way we learn? Yes? Sorry? In 2021. Yes, I also heard COVID. COVID was an important transformation, so that relates. Because, of course, during COVID, well, all of a sudden, across the world, schools were closed. So we had to deal with that and rethink how we learn. That is a really good answer. Anyone else has any other ideas of major shifts and transformation of our education systems? Okay. Well, I would say that one of the major shifts, or maybe one of the last really major shifts of our education system, because COVID was a transformation, but we're back now to business as usual, unfortunately, in many of the cases. So one of the major shifts of our education system was actually in the early 20th century. And that is the drive of democratization of access to education. The goal was we need to give access to education for all, universal enrollment. We started building schools and really enrolling everyone and ensuring that everyone gets at least primary education. And when you try to see about it, and you look at like old pictures of classrooms in the early 20th and today, well, there has been some changes. We see computers, we see maybe changes in pedagogies, but all in all, our classrooms still look more or less the same. It's teacher-led, the teacher is in the front, teaching to a class. So we're very much overdue for really reshaping our education systems. And that's particularly important because, I mean, I'm not preaching to the choir. Our world is facing major challenges. Challenges that our education system, as they are designed currently, are not able to meet. And this is why we're here today. I mean, we went through COVID. COVID is one example of the health and pandemics that our world is facing. Climate change. We're still dealing in many areas of the world with extreme poverty. And all of the issues that we're dealing, wars. So all of these challenges are what we are trying through our education system to equip ourselves and the next generations to be able to face. And as was hinting out, we're far from meeting those goals. So the first graph, the first lines is about enrollment rate. So we did reach, so that transformation I was talking to you about in the early 20th century, we did actually relatively succeed. We do reach in many countries in Southeast Asia universal enrollment or quasi-universal enrollment in primary education. Of course, this is not a one battle. There's still marginalized learners that are not having access to formal education. But then when we look at other indicators that are also key in the education sector, like completion, have you completed at basic education? Have you completed upper secondary and have a certificate of it? Then it looks a bit more dire. And in particularly when you're looking at higher levels of education in upper secondary, you see that the rate of completion drops to about 40% on average. And it's even more dire when you look at learning. An education system main central goal is to ensure quality learning. We go to schools to learn. And it's very worrying that in half of the countries in Asia Pacific, half of the students by the age of 10 are not able to read a simple sentence. And I think if there's one data point for us to remember, I think it's this one. We are facing a learning crisis. Our education system are not delivering on the promise of if you go to school, you will learn. So this is basically what we are aiming to transform. And this was why the United Nations conveyed last year the Transforming Education Summit, which was aiming to rebuild a new momentum for transforming education, for achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 4 and quality and delivering on the promise of quality education for all. The idea was that during the United Nations General Assembly, where you have all the chiefs of states coming together, to have a special summit on education so that we can get high-level commitments for education and for achieving SDG 4. Ahead of the summit, so the summit took place in September of last year, ahead of the summit, countries were invited to lead national consultations with all stakeholders and come up with their national commitment. What, as a country, we are committing to do to achieve SDG 4. And these national commitments were submitted to the United Nations, and they were read, for some of them, by the chief of state at the summit. So it's very much that level of high-level commitment that was achieved. In Asia Pacific, we had 29 national statements. It's written in very little, but you can see Cambodia, Lao PDR, Philippines, I'm sure Thailand has also submitted, Vietnam, Timor-Leste. So pretty well done for Southeast Asia on this front. When we look at what was the key themes that we see in the national commitments, and I do invite you to try, those national commitments are available, so if you type Transforming Education Summit, you'll have the page where you can find the national commitments. So I do invite you to look at your country's national commitments. But some of the key themes that came up across the different national commitments in countries in Asia and the Pacific, of course, COVID-19 learning recovery was an important commitment from the countries. During COVID-19, we did see indeed a continuity of learning, but many learners did not have access to the same education that they would have done if the schools remained open. And we are facing what we call learning loss, which is that students of that cohort, this generation, did not have the same access to quality learning as they would have if COVID did not happen. And so how do we do and face this reality? And then, of course, addressing educational exclusion and ensuring that our education systems are equitable and inclusive of all. Another theme was about transforming the teaching profession. Again, if you remember this picture, the classrooms continue, unfortunately, to look the same in many schools, in many public schools in particular. So how do we transform the role of the teacher as a facilitator of learning, and what does that actually effectively mean, and how can we accompany our teachers through that transformation? Curriculum renewal, so looking at the what do we learn, looking at the content of learning. Again, we have new challenges, so is it business as usual, or should we really rethink the content of what we're offering in terms of learning? Digital learning and transformation, again, building on what we learned during the COVID-19 and how we can use technology to enhance education, in particular in the public sector. And then financing education. Again, that was also a key point in many of the national commitments is, okay, all right, all this is nice, but if we want to do this, we really need to think about how our financing models for our education systems and how to make sure that they're equitable and efficient. At the summit, so there was the national commitment, there were also global initiatives that were launched. So those global initiatives are based on calls of action that will be creating a global movement on key themes of transformation. One of them is greening, so greening education. There's also more work on public digital learning through the gateways to public digital learning by creating available standards and repositories of tools that all can have access to. A coalition for foundational learning was developed. Again, so this foundational learning means learning in the early grades. And again, if you remembered what I said earlier about the kids at the age of 10 that are not able to read a simple sentence, this coalition aims to tackle this issue as a priority. Education in crisis situation was also recognized as an important topic that requires a global commitment and global action. And finally, a global platform for gender equality and girls and women's empowerment was also developed. And you will hear more also later about the Global Youth Initiative that was launched. Now, before we go to the follow-up, so you heard about what the national commitments are and some of the global initiatives, so from the national and the global level. But what about you? If you think about transformation of education in Southeast Asia or in your country, can you describe in one word, and you can write, I think, up to 3 words, what is your priority for transformation? So you can either scan the code or go to menti.com and enter the code 13807828. And can I have a show of hand once you're on the page so that we can... Okay, still a minority. Feel free, if you're not able to scan from the back or from the corner, you can move. Okay, another show of hand. Who's on the page? Okay, right. Okay, so it's menti.com and 13807828. Okay, maybe we can start showing the results. Let's see. Huh. Has anyone entered results so far? Yes? Okay, so why aren't they showing? I think you need to could you refresh? Oh, here we go. We have a beautiful word cloud. And with really interesting words, empathy, inclusivity, digital learning, equity, transforming, greening, lifelong learning, storytelling. That's very interesting. Progressive education, social impact, dealing with ambiguity, so looking at the content of what we learn and how we deal with ambiguity, efficient equity, psychosocial support, yes, disaster preparedness, informal settlers, global, flexibility, holistic, learner-centered. I think this is a very interesting set of world, and I hope we can sit with all of our collective priorities in the coming days. Some of them, most of them, relate to either global initiatives or national ones, but I think, again, some of them also go beyond and do touch on themes that I think are important to bring forward. If we look at, for instance, the impact on psychosocial as well. Just like a couple of more slides. So if we can go back to the presentation. about the test follow-up. So of course, after the test summit, the question was, okay, but well, how do we make sure that we keep the momentum? How do we make sure that we work on this commitment and then we keep the momentum of this summit going? And so the test secretariat came up with different pillars of how we will go about our follow-up. First of all, making sure that at the national level, we move from commitment to action and what that means. And I invite you to work at national level in your countries to make sure that we are moving on those commitments and keeping our education sectors accountable for what we collectively decided on. The second is making sure that education is well represented and appears prominently in the Pact for the Future, so at the global sustainable development agenda. Education is a very fundamental right and a fundamental component of sustainable development. In September 2024, in the United Nations, will take place the Pact for the Future, where we will discuss, again, where we are with all of the sustainable development goals and think about what does it mean for the future of humanity. And so the goal is to make sure that education appears prominently in that. The third pillar is the global movement for transforming education and making sure that those global initiatives that were discussed are carried forward, and including true youth leadership. So this summit fits also through this global movement of transformation, where we're bringing actors together beyond the national level. And then the fourth pillar was really about leveraging mechanisms, innovative mechanisms for financing education and seeing how different actors, governments, CSOs, youth activists can tap into those financing models. And then the final pillar is to implement the global initiatives. In terms of the principles, the TESS Secretariat had defined some principles of action to guide us all through the follow-up. So making sure that we have a whole of government and whole of society approach. So making sure that everyone is involved, that it's not just policymakers in the ministries, but everyone is involved through this through the follow-up. And then strengthening and transforming existing mechanisms and structures. The idea, and I think this is very important for us to keep in mind, is not to create parallel systems or reinvent the wheel, is to look at what can we build from what already exists and what do we need to let go of, but not create parallel systems. Use evidence to inform policies and planning. So this is quite important, making sure that we are making use of data and making sure that we can show effectiveness of what we are doing. Addressing inequalities and disparities throughout our models, actions, initiatives. And then finally, the final principle in the list, and a very central one to TESS, is making sure that youth are very much on a leadership position and are the center of the transformation. And again, I very much salute you for being here, and SEAMEO INNOTECH for organizing this gathering, as it's really at the heart of the philosophy of TESS. And just one last thing to say that we did, so one of the follow-up that we did organize at the regional level also, it was in May, also with SEAMEO, and it was about bringing together policymakers from the Southeast Asian countries to really reflect about national commitments and identify from like the policymakers' perspective what are the transformations that are needed. So what you're doing today is another type of follow-up that also feeds into this global momentum of TESS. I'm going to stop here, and I'm just going to leave you with the words of the United Nations Secretary General, who said, any solution to the world's problem starts with education, the greatest tool we have to fulfill and grow human potential. This is why we really need to make sure that our education systems are fit for purpose and for what we do. I wish you all a great summit and a lot of innovative thinking and reflecting, and looking forward to it. Thank you.
Now I take over. So hi everyone, magandang umaga. That would be Filipino for good morning. So magandang umaga. Yan. Okay. Our representative from the regional office was supposed to be here, but she couldn't come, so she asked me to deliver this presentation to the young people in the crowd in the summit, and hopefully we'll be able to get some new insights on what we can do in terms of transforming education and contributing to the education system. Now, Somaya a while ago talked about transforming education, no? And when we think about transforming education, we also need to think about what do our learners really need, right? We have to think about that most crucial question. What do our learners need to be able to succeed in life? No? To be able to succeed in school, in work, in life. No? And this presentation will focus on the skills frameworks, primarily one skill framework that UNICEF is advocating, and hopefully you'd be able to see yourself also, no, within the presentation. Where are you in terms of advocating these skills, no, in terms of developing our young people? Now, when we talk about skills, we're not only talking about foundational skills. No? We're not only talking about knowledge acquisition. We're talking about different types of skills. On the screen, you have 4 categories: foundational skills, digital skills, and job-specific skills. No? But at the center of it all would be transferable skills. Okay? Do you agree that you need foundational skills? Yes, right? Okay. That's why you go to school, no? When you're a kid, when you go through grade school, you learn to read, you learn to write, you learn to compute, no? Digital skills. Do you need digital skills? Why? Why do we need digital skills? Back in my time, siguro, no, just echoing what Sec Liling a while ago was saying, back in my time, digital skills was kind of a luxury, no? Digital computers were in banks probably, but then the PCs came in. They were so expensive. Cell phones were so big. No? So digital skills acquisition was a luxury, no, during my time. But now, no, we need digital skills, both young and old, because we rely on digital gadgets a lot, right? We do our socialization, we do our communication, we do our learning through digital means, no? So yes. How about job-specific skills? Do we need them? So quiet. Job-specific skills, no? So if you want to be a nurse, what type of skills do you need? Nursing skills would be like what? Like, you have to know how to inject properly, right? You have to know to look for a vein, no? If you are a salesperson, what type of skills do you need? Would it be the same as, like, for a nurse? Would a salesperson need the skills that a nurse has? Not necessarily, but some of the skills, yes, some of the skills, no? So we're talking about job-specific skills. But at the center of it all would be the transferable skills, no? These would be the center glue that binds all these different skills together. They foster the enhancement of the other skills. Later on, I'll be showing you what they are. And they facilitate, no, lifelong learning. One other category that's emerging would be green skills. Okay, our climate action advocates, who are you in the room? Any climate activists? Okay, so green skills, no? You'd understand what the green skills are. Right now, for me, I'm still learning about this now as we engage in climate action also among our young people. So for this presentation, I'll focus on the transferable skills. No? What are they? But before I go to that, are you familiar with this, with learning to know, learning to do, learning to be, learning to live together? Have you heard of those? Okay. Back when I was working for another agency, this was the battle cry of our regional director. He always cited this, the Delors report. This would be the holistic and integrated vision of education. No? Learners should be able to learn to know, learn to do, learn to be, and learn to live together. And this, looking at these 4 pillars, we would have an understanding of the transferable skills that I'm talking about. No? So learning to know would be creativity, critical thinking, problem solving. Learning to do would be cooperation, negotiation, decision making. Learning to be communication, resilience, and self-management. Learning to live together would be respect for diversity, empathy, and participation. Maybe you've heard of some other terminology, no? 21st century skills, soft skills, life skills, social-emotional skills. More or less, they're similar. No? What UNICEF did was to simplify. It's actually a lot of other skills, but these would be the core transferable skills. No? And they are focusing on learning, employability, personal empowerment, and active citizenship. And I'm sure throughout the 2-day summit, you'll be hearing a lot of these things, no? Because this is what actually you've been trying to do with your young people, with the young people that you work with. No? You want them to develop the skills so that they'd be able to succeed in their own lives, no? Professionally and personally. Okay? Now this graph came from that global framework publication, and it maps out one type of skills, so math skills and then transferable skills. No? So along the x-axis would be the math skills, along the y-axis would be the transferable skills. Legend, the pink ones would be share of the jobs that fell, no? So not too high demand for jobs anymore. The blue jobs would be share of the jobs grew, no, in terms of demand. And the gray ones would be the jobs that remain the same. So if you'll notice, in the recent years, a lot of the jobs decreased, no, in terms of demand. Why? Because of automation, right? We have AI. Who's using ChatGPT here? You're familiar with ChatGPT, right? It can replace so many jobs, no? So with all the automation happening, with all the technology provisions that we have, a lot of the jobs here, down here, might be obsolete in the next few years. But then, because of these jobs decreasing in terms of demand, there are other jobs that are being standing out, no, in terms of demand, no? Those that require creativity, those that require social interaction, those that require personalization. No? Do you see yourself in the graph? Okay. Do you think you have sufficient transferable skills to be able to succeed in that job role? You don't have to answer that right now, no? But in the future, in the near future, probably think of your clients, your beneficiaries also. Are we preparing them enough in terms of skills, no, for them to be able to take on the job roles that they want? Are we preparing them enough in terms of skills so that they can succeed in life? So those are the things that we have to think about as we think about transforming education, right? Okay. And if we look at those transferable skills, do we learn them all in school? Negotiation, communication, interacting with others. Do we learn them all in school? Just in school? Are we limited to just the school setting in terms of learning those skills? No, right? And this is what we're saying with this graph, no? That there are so many different pathways, okay? And we have to be very flexible in terms of developing those skills. And those skills progress throughout life. No? You don't really just learn creativity when you're young and then you lose it. No? You have to nurture your creativity. You learn new ways. You learn how to different approaches for creativity as you grow older, as you experience more things. No? So that's what this graph is saying, that we don't have to be limited to what's being offered in school, because we can always learn them in other settings. And this is probably one of the things that we need to think about when we talk about transforming education, right? Is education just in the purview of the education sector, right? Is education just the accountability of the government? No, right? Okay. You learn in different settings. You learn in different environments. You learn in through your family interactions. You learn through your friends. No, probably education is very much associated with the formal route, no, the formal path. But then learning, when you talk about learning, maybe we talk about transforming learning, no? Rather than just transforming education. Yesterday, I was in a roundtable discussion and we were talking about certification. No? We get certification from our schools. No? We get diplomas. We get credentials from colleges, right? We get certificates from our TVET courses. But then we were talking about, how about the courses that we take through our community initiatives? We learn a lot from those, but what do we get? It's a certificate of participation, but do they add up to a credential? They don't. No? And maybe it's about time that we look at those opportunities also. No? And this is something that we would like to encourage you to think about. No, because we cannot do it alone. No? We have to have your voice also telling us that, hey, maybe you should look at it this way. Okay? So looking at this, you can go through the academic route. You can go through the non-academic route. And if you look at, sorry for the font, it's too small, but then, so we talk about formal education, non-formal education, workplace and work readiness programming. So those would be the traditional routes, right? The pathways. But then when you talk about social engagement, when you volunteer, you learn a lot. You gain skills, no? But are they in any form of certificate? Are they in any form of CV? Maybe you can write them down as voluntary, your volunteer opportunities, but then are you getting assessed, no, for gaining those skills? You're not. Child protection and violence prevention also, you can learn a lot from attending in child-centered safe spaces, especially those in emergencies, no? You get a lot from different initiatives on girl empowerment and so many other topics, no? Like comprehensive sexuality education. You learn a lot from WASH. You learn a lot about nutrition, about health, and so on and so forth. No? So you always think about, where do you learn? How do you actually learn? It's really not just within the school setting. And these would be the outcomes that we're trying to achieve. No? So outcome 1 would be improved education and lifelong learning. Outcome 2 would be improved employment and entrepreneurship. Outcome 3, improve personal empowerment towards development, inclusion, and access to choices in life, work, and society. And outcome 4 would be improved active citizenship outcomes. No? These would be the 4 outcomes of transferable skills. No? But then, even if we know all these, out of the 152 surveyed countries, only 117 included transferable skills within national policy documents. Only 71 included transferable skills within their curriculum. That's half. That's less than half. No? And only 18 defined the learning standards to ensure the development of these skills across different age and grade levels. As I mentioned, it's the way you treat transferable skills, it has to be progressive. You cannot just teach it in grade 1 and that's it. So, with all these, we can see that there's a long way to go in terms of transforming learning. No? There are so many challenges that countries face in terms of putting in transferable skills. Mainly, that there are so many different frameworks, for one. No? People call them life skills, people call them social-emotional skills, people call them 21st century skills. They might be the same, but they're also different. So they don't have a core foundational framework to work with, no, globally. Secondly, not too many research studies are coming out in terms of skills progression for these transferable skills. And lastly, it's so difficult to assess. It's so difficult to measure. But then we have to face the fact that we have to measure it somehow, no? And again, that's part of transforming learning. Now, just to end my talk right now, UNICEF actually has its own regional young people's action team. You can go to this site. You can check out who's the representative from your country in this action team, and you can link with them, no, for UNICEF initiatives, no, and activities, no. And what we're trying to do is to support young people to take action, not only to be consulted, but also to take action on like what you're doing right now. Hopefully, we can replicate this in more areas within your countries, and we can only do this with youth, with young people yourselves, no, not through the adults, no. The adults are too academic. The adults probably might not have the energy level that you have, no. And our current focus would be on transforming education and skills transition to work, climate action, mental health and psychosocial support, and reducing harmful practices. Right now, these are the focus areas, but eventually that will expand. No? And of course, we're always supporting our young advocates in terms of influencing policy change. No? And hopefully you can work with your country offices, UNICEF country offices, and the YPAT, no, the Young People's Action Team from the region, in making these happen. No? And I'm supposed to show you some slides on what the Thai Thai team has been doing, but I don't have time anymore. But then I'm sure that you have a lot of things to talk about, no, with regards to transferable skills. And hopefully you can look at your own respective programs and try to list down, no, what are the transferable skills that we're actually building? How are we assessing? How are we making sure that these young people are actually getting these skills that we want them to get? Hopefully, I'd be able to listen to some of your presentations in the breakout sessions. And if you'd like to link up with me, my email address, you can just write me, mtan. Let me go to the first slide. Oops, sorry. Okay, This is my email address. If you'd like to find out more about transferable skills, if you'd like to learn more about the Young People's Action Team, just write me, just drop me a line. And thank you for your attention, and looking forward to mingling with you later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much to both of our amazing speakers. So we have learned a lot about transforming education, the UNESCO work, a global movement about education, about partnership and young people at the center of the development. And we also learned about the transferable skill on development on professionally and personally empowerment. And now we would like to ask all the participants to have 1 or 2 questions to the speakers. Would any participant would like to ask a question?
Yes, if you have any questions for our speakers, or if you want to share some reflections or insights or feedbacks, it's also very much welcome. We also have our Padlet board if you're not very much comfortable in sharing or speaking at the microphone, you can just post it there and everyone will be able to read it. And by the way, our food is just there. You can just stand up and get your food because you will not have a declared break for the morning. So you can just feel free to stand up, get your food, and go back to your seat. Any questions?
Any questions? Can you raise your hand?
None?
Anyone?
Reactions? Maybe you oppose some of their...
C2.
Oh, Sithu. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, please.
Hello, I'm Sidhu from Myanmar. May I ask one question to both of the speakers? Like for now, I think education focus is mainly about equity, diversity, and equality. So may I ask, in terms of your work, especially, I would like to hear more about in terms of your work with government agency, because this is one of the important things, right? So in terms of your work, how do you, how is your work implementing and making sure that equity, diversity, and equality, it's in education sector in your region or in your work? Yes.
No, thank you. It's a good question. Well, I think first of all, it's about making sure that when we work with countries, it's also who's at the table. So it's who's at the table when we're having discussions around policies. It's who is at the table when we're talking about capacity building, and making sure that that's an important. It's kind of like having a participatory but also inclusive model, so that like all voices are heard. In terms of equity, inclusion, we have at the regional level in Asia Pacific, we have under the SDG 4 coordination mechanism, we have working groups that bring together actors in Asia Pacific that work on these themes. And so we have one on disability inclusive education, one on mother tongue languages, and we have an overall theme we're looking at equity. So we do work on different areas to promote inclusion and equity. We work at the policy level, so making sure that policy making processes, planning, so when the education sector define a new sector plan, that it is equitable and inclusive. In terms of financing, I was mentioning that before, but it's also looking at about how we finance education and how it is actually promoting equity and inclusion. Looking at the content of our curriculum, is our curriculum content and what is proposed as content inclusive? Is it bringing all learners to the same way, and is it creating a fulfilling learning experience for all? Mother tongues are very important. It's about making sure that we give opportunities to all learners to learn in their native and mother language, among others. So there's like many areas working from the policy and planning to the classroom and looking at how we can inform teachers in the classroom. We don't have all the solutions, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you about new ideas and new ways we can also do that. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, just from the Philippine side, when you're in a country office, it's more daunting because you're actually exposed to the ground realities, and there are so many issues, no, on the ground that you also have to be selective on what to prioritize. We do work with government in terms of the policy level development. So in the Philippine Basic Education Development Plan, we made sure that there's consideration of inclusion, of equity. We're even looking at the gender angle, no? In terms of actual operationalization and implementation, that's where the challenge lies, no? And this is where we advocate for shared responsibility. We don't really just work with DepEd alone, we work with a network of education stakeholders. We cannot be experts in everything, but we can work with others to be able to impact, no? to give actual impactful, effective interventions through collaborative work. No? And inclusion, well, I personally am working with the non-formal education sector where we work with the most vulnerable to bring them back to basic education. So that's one area that I can vouch for. If you'd like to learn more about it, just approach me later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing a great insight. With collaboration with all stakeholders and making every voices on the table and being heard is one of the most important things to achieve equity. After all, we have a question at the back here, of course.
Yeah, so at this point, we can only, I think there's someone there. We can only entertain 1 or 2 questions, but there will be a conversation and open dialogue. After 1 more sessions, we will be able to accommodate, hopefully, more questions.
Good day to everyone. My name is Cherry Sermonia, the SSGL President of Taguigin Pateros. I have a questions about the curricular renewal. Is there a possibility po to return the past educational system curriculum, then the K-12 will be removed? Yan pa.
Who will be the right person to answer that? So I think if there's a possibility that the K-12 system will be revert back to the non-K-12.
To the K-12 to be removed, just so that I understand correctly, you want to not have a curriculum? I think this is something for you to discuss. I mean, there's different way. I mean, we need to learn something when we go to school, so that's what we call curriculum. But curriculum in different contexts means different things. Some countries have nationally mandated curriculum, so very much centralized. But you have also other models where schools, communities are given more flexibility to design the learning experience and the learning content. So let's just say there's like a pendulum in terms of flexibility, in terms of curriculum. But it is an area of discussion in terms of where the pendulum stays and what works best in your own context.
It's actually a very sensitive topic right now. So I just like to highlight, no, that when the Philippines shifted to K-12, we were one of the last countries to have that kind of curriculum. We were the last in Asia to have a 10-year, tama ba? 10-year basic education. And we cannot, due to globalization also, no, we have to think about globalization also. No? And our students are shortchanged in a way for not having a longer basic education. Admittedly, in terms of curriculum, there are still areas for improvement. DepEd is going through a curriculum review right now. It was actually opened up, no, to the public for comments, and hopefully, the youth were able to provide feedback. but it's a very sensitive topic. It will take a while, no, for this conversation to die down. We don't know what the answer would be, but it's good, no, that you're raising that question. But because it means that you are concerned also, no, as a youth participant also of society. Sorry, I couldn't really answer that. It's too sensitive.
Yes. Thank you so much. We'll just answer this one last question for this part, but you will go back to your questions later on. This question on grassroots engagement. How exactly do you make education sustainable in places where learning is a privilege? It's like a Miss Universe question. Who would want to answer that? I mean, anyone can answer. It doesn't need to be our speakers. If you have any experience that you want to share in making education sustainable and accessible to underprivileged areas, you may answer this question. But just don't present the innovation yet, because that might take us 20 minutes. Okay.
Hello and good morning to each and everyone. I am Almuntajar A. Jamasali from University of the Philippines, Diliman, Islamic, taking up Masters in Islamic Studies. So for that question, how exactly do you make education sustainable in places where learning is a privilege? So I observed that from the different libraries that we have, they are open for 8 hours. So with that scenario, I am appealing to everyone or the sponsor that we need libraries that are open for 24 hours with the snacks. Because guys, we could not afford Starbucks for studying. So that is my notion and appeal.
Yes, I agree. Let's start with free coffee, right? Last message.
No, just to respond to this one, this is where we also work with communities, no, local communities. As I mentioned a while ago, DepEd cannot do it alone, no? CHED cannot do it alone. TESDA cannot do it alone. We always need to have community support. It just has to be a open conversation. It has to be a collaborative planning, strategic planning within the community to be able to support and sustain learning opportunities, no? Not only for the young, but also for the old who want to continue learning. Okay? So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mel, and thank you so much for all of our questions. And at this point, may we invite you all to please stand up, stand up, stand up, and please don't be mad at us if we haven't, you weren't able to solicit your question. We'll have more time later. So can we have the music from our tech, please? Okay, let's just shake our hands. Shake above our head. And then at our shoulders, at our hips. And then let's go circular. To the right. To the right. And then to the left. Shake the left, right foot. Shake the right foot. And then the left foot. Walk to your right. 3 steps to your right, and then 3 steps to your left. And then one last shake. One more with sound effect. Yes, thank you so much. So that's the end of that session. And we would like to invite all of your attention to our screen for a brief video presentation.
Education is a fundamental human right.
It is a powerful lever
for peace, gender equality,
hope, empowerment, and progress.
教育是人类社会进步的重要基石。
Despite progress over the years, too many children, youth and adults are still denied the right to quality education.
The situation has never been more urgent.
Que son otros tiempos.
y que el contexto mundial necesita esa transformación.
If we're really serious about transforming education, we have to hear the voices of the ones most affected.
Diversity and inclusion is more important than anything else.
It is imperative that we do this with a forward-looking view, equipping the next generation with the knowledge and skill sets
for work and life,
for sustainable development,
to prepare for the climate crisis,
to provide for lifelong learning opportunities.
If we really want to achieve the SDGs by 2030, we need to equip and empower teachers
to innovate, design, and create lessons.
We need to make teaching a first choice of profession.
We need to deploy the power and potential of technology, and we need to understand that these technologies should not be privileges.
We don't have just to transform education, we have to transform
the financing of education.
We have a shared duty to invest more, to invest better.
Ce que nous sommes en train de construire, c'est un nouveau pacte entre nos générations.
And so I'd like to encourage every young person to help us grow a movement for education transformation.
And to reshape, through education, the rest of society.
The future is in our hands. We are the generation to make all of this change.
So what would you do to transform education? That was a powerful video from the Transforming Education Summit, and also here with us, Prim, he's also here with us. He's a fellow core group member of the Youth Summit. He's an educator from the International School for Better Beginnings, a youth leader at the SDG for Youth, and he appeared in that video in a white and blue barong of the United Nations. I'm proud to give you Ilan Inverga to give us a context on the Youth Declaration to Transforming Education. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. I think we can do more energy. Good morning. Yes, we're going to experiment how far we can go with the microphone. Hello. So, wow. Hello. Hi, everyone. So, what an amazing space this is for all of us. It's really a privilege to be around the people sitting beside you. If you look in front, behind you, it's such an amazing event to be part of. Do you agree? Yes. I really believe so, and I really believe that great things are going to come out of this event. I can feel it. So again, my name is Ilan Enverga. I'm an education advocate from right here in the Philippines, and full-time I work as an educator at my school, ISBB, and that is where I pioneered an innovative education program that champions youth leadership, social emotional learning, experiential learning, and education for sustainable development. And along with that, I also am a member and focal point at UNESCO's SDG 4 Youth Network, where I work with the global movement to transform education. May I invite everyone to answer out loud to the following. So yes, with a thumbs up, nice and high in the air. So sample, can I get a yes? And no, what do you think? So first question, yes or no? Are you happy to be here today? Oh, one more time, are you happy to be here today? Okay. Next question, do you believe education is important? Oh, with more confidence, come on. Okay. Do you believe young people are essential to transforming education? Give yourselves a round of applause. All right? Well, there are other people who also believe that young people are integral to transforming education. Let's test our eyesight. All together, wow. So this is the teacher coming out in me. So all together, can we read the quotation from UN Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez? 1, 2, 3, go. If we are to transform our world by 2030, as envisaged by the Sustainable Development Goals, then the international community must give this crisis the attention it deserves. We must respond decisively with conviction, imagination, and in solidarity to transform education. Thank you, students. Just kidding. Thank you so much. And one more. This is our UN Secretary General's Envoy on Youth. All together, 1, 2, 3, go. Keep going. Being included. Do you agree, yes or no? One more time, do you agree, yes or no? All right? You need to fight for that space, young people, all right? And we're so grateful. We heard the same message from, not just from the UN Secretary General, not just from the Youth Envoy, but also just the fact that this event exists. So I really just want to give a big thank you. Can we all give a big thank you to SEAMEO INNOTECH for hosting us and prioritizing youth? So thank you so much, especially to our director, Briones, who really prioritized youth in their program. So thank you again. Yes, last year, 2022, it was a tremendous year for the transforming education movement. We initiated the urgent mobility for education transformation. And our countries and our respective education ministries have made some wonderful commitments, including commitments made at the Asia Pacific Regional Education Ministers Conference last year in June, and of course at the Transforming Education Summit in New York, as Ms. Somaya mentioned earlier, during which national commitments were launched. Here's the thing. From these commitments, we know the words are written, and the promises have been made by our governments. I believe we can ensure that young people will be watching very closely our governments, whether they will reach or meet these promises. Yes or no? Will we be watching? We'll be watching. Regardless, young people are eager and ready to support our governments in ensuring that these commitments are reached. We are ready to build partnerships and work together to mobilize action to transform education. Now, yes or no? We have a lot of yes or no's. So yes or no, is your Department of Education or Ministry of Education meeting your expectations for quality education? Yes or no? Yes or no? This year, oh yeah, there's another question, sorry. They feel very strongly. We love the energy. Next question, does your education ministry need to do better? With a thumbs up. Now this question is for you. Are you ready and willing to help your education ministry transform your education system? Because the truth of the matter is, our ministries are implementing solutions that are ineffective. They're implementing policies that just do not work once they reach the students and teachers on the ground. And this just shows that there's a disconnect between policies and what's happening in reality. But youth are not just here to complain, right? We're not just here to complain. Youth are here to help our education ministries and to work with our education ministries to address the disconnect between top-down policies and the problems happening in the ground. Ministries, we ask you to acknowledge your gaps. You need to listen to and empower young people and empower those who are on the ground, including young people, students, and teachers. Agree? Yes or no? The movement to transform education and to bring youth to the table is growing and growing. And I would like to invite everyone to hear from young people all over the world and their calls for transforming education. Let's watch this quick video.
Dollars
Dolazim iz Bosne i Hercegovine.
I'm from India.
I am from Nigeria.
I'm from Turkey.
I'm from the United States.
I'm from Puerto Rico.
I want world leaders attending Transforming Education Summit to revive and rejuvenate the education system in their country. You're not doing enough. You should do more.
I am disappointed that more than 260 million children are out of school all over the world.
Inequality is one of the foremost challenges to reaching education everywhere.
Children are not given enough food at school.
Climate education is still not a topic well addressed in curriculums.
Refugees are still suffering from the low quality learning or no learning at all.
We need to rethink and reformulate new approaches to teaching, learning, and evaluating.
I urge world governments to invest more in professional teachers training.
I want digital education, emotional intelligence, and 21st century skills to be part of our curriculum.
Educators need to be trained in strategies that will ensure students with disabilities are included within the classroom.
The educational system needs to place more emphasis on early intervention.
A proper education, the needed safety within the school, as well as preservation of their mental health is a must.
To me, education is the foundation for a self-determined life, especially for young girls and women all over the world.
Dear world leaders, if there is something or a favor we would ask for, we the people from the countries where education means all, please implement the policies you're trying to make during the summit.
Education empowers us to dream. It empowers us to realize those dreams. It gives us the will and power to grow together, because when we grow together, nothing is impossible.
Education is our fundamental right. Education is my right.
A educação é direito fundamental para todos.
Please, let me learn.
Let me learn.
Mam une chance pour apprendre.
Let me learn.
Let me learn.
We briefly introduced the Youth Declaration, which is also right here on the side of our venue. But right now, before I continue, ladies and gentlemen, I am excited, admittedly a little nervous, but more excited to introduce and have this amazing privilege to introduce a special guest to our event all the way here in Southeast Asia. So, she's a dear friend and supporter of the Youth Declaration. Please give a round of applause for the United Nations Secretary General's Envoy on Youth, Ms. Jayatma Vikramanayaka.
Excellencies, dear colleagues, fellow young people. Education is a fundamental human right, a public responsibility, and a global public good. It is the key enabler to achieve the world envisioned in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, a more equal, prosperous, peaceful, and just world for people and the planet everywhere, leaving no one behind. Yet, we are currently experiencing a global education crisis, which is deeply intertwined with other ongoing global challenges such as COVID-19, the climate crisis, ongoing conflicts, and rising inequalities. The access, quality, and relevance of education for children and youth everywhere are at risk, particularly for those most marginalized and vulnerable. Around the world, 244 million children and youth are currently out of school. Simultaneously, it is estimated that only 1 in 3 10-year-olds globally can read and understand a simple story. Moreover, despite the climate crisis and the race to reach the 1.5 degrees Celsius path recommended by the Paris Agreement, only half of the national curricula in the world have a reference to climate change. Young people understand this paradigm and are demanding action now. This is why, in the scope of the Transforming Education Summit hosted by the UN Secretary General in 2022, with the aim to raise the status of education to the top of political priorities and shine a light on the ongoing education crisis, young people came together to spearhead a global movement for education transformation. Almost 500,000 young people from over 170 countries and all regions joined forces on a first-of-its-kind youth declaration on transforming education. In it, they outlined their vision, demands, and commitments to transform education. At the heart of their call to action, young people call for an intersectional and intersectoral approach to education transformation based on principles of human rights, sustainable development, gender equality, climate justice, peace, inclusion, and solidarity. Young people must be meaningfully engaged at every step of transforming education as full-fledged partners, not only beneficiaries, alongside their governments, education institutions, civil society, and international organizations like the United Nations. Young people are at the forefront of driving change, pioneering innovations, mobilizing their peers and communities, and working from the ground up every day to transform education. I call on everyone here today to join the youth-led global movement for education transformation, support the Youth Declaration, and work together with young people in partnership to tackle the education crisis. I stand ready to work together with each one of you in this process. Thank you.
As we all know, the Youth Declaration plays a foundational or core role in this event that we are at. As we know, this event's objective is to share working models of education transformation in an effort to take ownership of the Youth Declaration. As you may be aware, this Youth Declaration is impressive. It is one of a kind. It is the first of its time. It's really a show of solidarity of young people. So almost 500,000 people, 500,000 young people are represented from over 170 countries. So the Youth Declaration is really something that we can use as a blueprint moving forward. And yes, we're excited to put my picture on the slide, always, right? So at last year's Transforming Education Summit, I really had the esteemed honor to hand over the Youth Declaration to Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez to officially launch the Youth Declaration. So this was in September 2022. Where are we now? When are we now? The question is, what happens next? All right? And that's what this event is all about. We're not here to talk about the Youth Declaration and what it is. I'm sure you're all aware, but a little bit more about it. That the most important thing to know about the Youth Declaration is how it reflects youth-driven change. There's something special about change that is spearheaded by young people. Imagine just for a second a world where your education system is guided by the 25 articles of the Youth Declaration on transforming education. These 25 articles prioritize decolonizing pedagogy, gender transformative education, foundational learning, mental health, climate education, refugee youth, young persons with disabilities, entrepreneurship and vocational education, better teacher training and teaching working conditions, digital infrastructure, education in emergency situations, and education finance. It's clear, it's comprehensive, and the comprehensiveness in ensuring systems are equitable, inclusive, and sustainable are unique to youth-led solutions. Agree? Yes, absolutely yes. And this unique quality of youth-driven change is also apparent in your solutions, in your innovations that you are presenting at this event. When young people are empowered to join leaders in co-creating, we always achieve better outcomes. Take this event, for example. I, along with a core group of youth leaders, helped organize and set priorities for this event with the amazing team of SEAMEO INNOTECH. So, the question is, what was it like? What was it like working with young people to organize this event? Because we can tell you, it was not easy to work with us. Why? Let's find out from one of our fellow organizers from SEAMEO INNOTECH. Let's give a warm round of applause from Miss Edith Pimentel. Let's give her a round of applause, everyone. So, I don't want to show any bias, so I want to ask Miss E, what was it like working with young people? Because I think this is a first also for SEAMEO INNOTECH. It's not usual that we host these types of events with or organized with young people.
Thank you, Ilan. Thank you for this opportunity. Yeah, it was actually a joy. Co-designing this two-day event with 7 youth leaders coming from 6 countries. The first time we met them, we just presented to them a frame. It's like a structure. But you know, after meeting them, several, I think we started meeting March, no? And we met we're meeting every week, almost every week. The frame that was empty before was not just filled with words, youthful words and ideas, but they were filled with aspirations. They were filled with hopes, with bright colors that you see all around, and life meanings. It was really a delight working with them. And I remember each time we meet, they would have a lot of ideas to share, youthful ideas, and sometimes it's difficult for us to catch up as adults, but we still open up our ears and make sure we listen to their suggestions. No? There was also a time when we were, actually the preparation was a lot of fun also. Starting with the preparation of our training kits. We were so conscious about our training kits, making sure that we are not using plastic, otherwise Joshua will not like it. We also have to make sure that in the event, in the preparation, we will create a lot of spaces for conversation, a lot of spaces where people can talk and people can share, the youth leaders themselves. And we need to make sure that there will be high level of engagement between and among the delegates who will be coming over. Those were their orders. And even this space, they said, would symbolize respect, equality, and inclusivity. And that's what they want to emphasize in this gathering. You know, we learned a lot from them. And we said to ourselves that really, well, this is the first time, we said to ourselves that really, if you want to have more youth programs, the youth should be at the table. They should not be treated as participants. And I hope you didn't feel that way when we were together planning for this program. But they are really our partners in co-designing this program. So we'd like to thank our 7 youth leaders for this great opportunity.
Thank you, Miss E. You can tell she's about to cry. She's going to miss us so much once this event is finished. But thank you again, Miss E, or Miss Edith. Through organizing this event, we have really shown that there's really a difference when young people are in charge, right? So there's no stage, right? We didn't want to have a higher level. We didn't want to separate anyone from others, right? So I think everyone understands. Like, there's so many young people in this room. You know what we mean. This is the world we're trying to create. This is the world we want for our future. And when it comes to transforming education, if you look at the summit in New York, I was so impressed by the intergenerational work being done in other regions outside of Southeast Asia. Because, for example, in the West African region, the education minister, the secretary for education of Sierra Leone, really prioritized having a team or delegation of youth always working directly with him on education policies, and always including the young people whenever he has to represent his education ministry at international events, right? So young people, would you like to also have a similar education minister? Yes? Yes. Also in the European region, in the EU or the European Union, they recently composed a youth advisory board that will sort of co-create and dictate what the youth transformation should look like in the European region. But this youth advisory board is not made up of only European citizens. It's made up of citizens from all over the world, because they wanted to ensure a diverse, sustainable, and inclusive reform to their education policies. So now I look at our region, Southeast Asia. How are we doing? Okay. How are we doing in Southeast Asia? Because these are our aspirations as young people. When it comes to giving youth a voice in education transformation, we need to do better. Yes or no? We need to do better. Yes. So tell us the truth. When you look at your education systems, do you see a lack of resources? Yes or no? When you look at your education systems, do you see corruption? Wow, a lot. Do you see in your education systems discrimination? Do you see in your education systems inequality? All of this, while our world is dealing with crisis on top of crisis on top of crisis, every day millions of people are suffering, going to bed hungry, being treated as less than human, living in fear from emergency crisis situations, and millions still not receiving the basic decency and basic human rights that every person on the world deserves. We, the youth, the students, the teachers, the education ministries, the governmental agencies and non-governmental agencies and partners, we need to work together. We need to work together to fill the gaps, to mend the cracks, and to transform education. And we need young people. We need young people to step up. But we also need the adults in our education ministries to be a role model, to set an example for young people about how it looks to acknowledge that your system needs fixing. We need the adults in our education ministries to show us what it looks like to own your failings, to acknowledge where you can do better, and to know when to ask for help. And again, this event and this global youth movement will show you that young people are ready to help our education ministries. Are we ready to help? Yes or no? Because when it comes to the education policies that affect us the most, young people know the best solutions need to involve us. Yes or no? So many yes or no. Yes or no? Young people will not settle for being ignored. Yes or no? Young people will not settle for being tokenized. Yes? Yes or no? Young people will not just settle for mere consultation. Yes? Young people will not settle, period. Yes. Shockingly, we even have departments of education who are bullying and placing blame on young people who are just speaking up about the poor conditions in schools. We actually live in a time when ministries are threatening and putting at risk the lives of young people and teachers. In the 21st century, 7 years away from the deadline of the 2030 agenda, is this okay behavior? Yes or no? No. It's not okay. Will we tolerate this kind of behavior? Yes or no? No. Because when young people see injustice, it is our instinct to speak up and right the wrongs. And the most impactful education systems are based on evidence. And evidently, young people are spearheading the most effective education innovations, especially from those who are presenting in this room, right? If you look around, can I ask C2 from Myanmar to please stand up? C2 founded an amazing innovative project that has equipped over 4,000 educators with knowledge and skills in using technology in the classroom, empowering teachers to create more engaging, more inclusive, and more effective learning experiences for students. Thank you, C2. Can I ask if Lena from Vietnam is here? Stand up. Lena co-founded a project that successfully matched over 100 tutors to students across communities in Vietnam. Over time, it expanded and fostered personalized learning, helping students find their suitable tutor in studying. Let's give her a round of applause. Rachana from Cambodia. Are you here? Rachana? Well, oh, there. Hello. Yes. Hi, Rachana. All the way in the back. So Rachana co-leads innovative STEAM education initiatives delivered in a supportive and gender-inclusive environment. This youth-led innovation inspires and empowers young Cambodian girls to confidently follow their dreams and take their rightful place among Cambodia's future scientists and innovators. Those are just 3. There are hundreds or more of you in this room, and I'm so excited to meet and hear from all of the youth leaders during this event. But before we close this opening plenary session and proceed full force into this 2-day event, know exactly why you are here. You are here not just to give a presentation, or you're not just here to meet people. You are here to mobilize, build partnerships, and transform education. Let me ask again, yes or no, are you happy to be here? With a thumbs up. Are you happy to be here? Yes. Yes, we are happy to be here. We are happy to be selected to be in this room. But as a fellow human being, let us remember to be as present and active as possible over the next 2 days. Let's remember to represent the millions of people who cannot be in this room. As a young person, we all know how it feels to be left out of the room, especially when it comes to spaces in government or ministries that create the policies that dictate our lives. So we know how it feels to be left out. Let's be here, let's be present, let's speak up for those who are not in the room. I invite you to look at the pictures around this room. You'll see them all over the walls, you'll see them in front as well. Use them as inspiration. Remember the faces of these young people, of these children, of these teachers. Millions of them need our help, and they are counting on us. So I ask you one last time, yes or no, are you ready? Are you ready? One last time, are you ready? Thank you so much, and have a great rest of the Youth Summit.
Thank you so much, Ilan. I
Thank you
think
very
that's a
much.
very powerful presentation.
And yes, very much. We are here to collaborate together to make a change for our world and billions of people in education system.
Yes, Prim. And I have some prizes here because I have some questions for our audience. You will receive this SEAMEO INNOTECH passport holder and a SEAMEO INNOTECH card with 3 debit cards already with 10,000 pesos each. Just kidding. So first question, how many articles does the Youth Declaration on Transforming Education have? Raise your hand. Raise your hand and answer.
Raise your
Okay.
hand.
I see a hand here.
We have 25 articles.
Tama? Correct? Is it correct? Correct.
Yes.
25. What do you want? The passport holder or the cards with the cash and debit card? The card holder. Okay. Thank you so much, Ezra from Philippines. She's from the Eugenio Lopez. What was that? Sorry.
From Eugenio M. Lopez Junior Center for Media Arts Senior High School.
Philippines.
Philippines.
She's
Yes,
from the
thank
Philippines.
you.
Second question. How many yes or no question did Elan ask?
Wow. That's a difficult one.
Yes. Oh, maybe Prim can ask the next question. For the passport holder, do you have a question for them? Okay, I can provide a question. What SDG is quality education? Daming sumagot. Hiraman na lang po. Okay, Elan, can you give the next question for the passport holder?
Yes. It's one of my favorites. Since we're talking about SDG 4, I have a favorite target because each SDG has targets. So which of the SDGs from SDG 4.1 to 4.7, which one entails education for sustainable development? Between 4.1 to 4.7. Those are your options. Point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4, point 5, point 6, point 7. And again, this is not a test of how fast your Google search is. Hello, I see your phones. Yes. Hello, sir.
The answer is what? Jojowain. Charot. Titikman.
You have the answer? Any hands?
4.7.
Yes. Wow.
That's our initial prizes. Later this afternoon, we will have more. The grand prize, so you will own the SEAMEO INNOTECH compound.
Wow. Thank you.
Yes, and as we dive into the vibrant discussion, we're now in our open dialogue and conversation. So, about the transformative education agenda and the Youth Declaration, it's important, everyone, that all of us has an equal space to contribute our thoughts and ideas to create a balanced and inclusive space. So we will be implementing the 3x3 rule.
Sure, and the 3x3 rule is quite simple. But after you have spoken, we kindly ask if you allow other 3 individuals to share their thoughts before speaking again, and this ensures that multiple voices are being heard.
Yes, and additionally, we also encourage everyone to allow for at least 3 minutes to pass before speaking again. This time interval allows for a more diverse range of perspectives to emerge and ensures that no one feels rushed or overshadowed.
Okay, by adhering this 3x3 rule, we create an atmosphere where everyone's ideas are valued and we can truly harness the power of collective wisdom and action.
Yes, so let's keep this in mind as we continue our discussion. Remember, the beauty of this gathering lies in the rich tapestry of perspectives we bring together. Let's listen attentively, respect one another, and create an inclusive space that allows each person to contribute meaningfully.
Okay, and together, we can make sure that every voice is heard, every idea is valued, and every individual feels empowered, and shape transformative education agenda. So let's embrace the 3x3 rule and let our collective brilliance shine. Just raise your hand and introduce yourself before sharing your thoughts and insights. And to those who are not comfortable sharing in the pantry, you can also use the Padlet bar. We'll be scanning a QR code on the board.
Yes, so the space is now open. It doesn't need to be a question for the speakers. It can be a question to fellow delegates and innovators, or it can just be an expression of insight.
Yes, and you can also share your experience and your thoughts as well.
Any questions?
Any
Any
questions?
sharers? Any insights? Yes.
Hi, I'm Le from Davao, Philippines. I run Tanim Talino. It's a national organization. I have a question that's been bugging me for a while now, and I really would like to hear some insight. As we think about our work in the particular spaces that we're trying to transform, and as we continue to think about operating at scale, my main question is, how do we effectively measure change? Because I've been thinking, okay, we're reaching more students, which is good. We're having presence in more municipalities, which is also good. But in the process of converting students or learners into data and that data into metrics, the individual stories get lost. And at the end of the day, I'm just playing a numbers game, and I'm not really sure if I'm making lasting or effective changes on the ground. So if anybody has some insight on this so that I could also better understand what it is I'm trying to work towards, and not just simply, maximizing metrics, which I think a lot of us may fall into the trap of also looking through that lens only. Thank you.
Sure, that was a very good question. Thank you very much for that one. How do we measure the impact and measure the change which we are creating? Does anyone would like to reply to the question or give any insight?
Maybe anyone has an experience in ensuring that aside from reporting metrics, quantifying our reports, how do you also highlight or give importance to the individual stories and important anecdotes?
Philippines. I think it's not just reporting matrices. It's a matter of making stories out about what have you done and what are they going about. I think it's a matter of letting people know and appreciate the successes that we have through stories. Because by creating stories, it would allow other learners to appreciate and understand the things the many players have been doing. So what we did in Bohol and in Central Visayas, everything that we do, trainings and other activities for the youth, we make sure that we make stories. Because the stories can work together in encouraging more and more young individuals to join the responsibility, the task ahead. Thank you.
Amazing. Any more questions, insights? Sir is raising his hand.
Hello everyone, my name is Alfred from the Philippines. So I'm working in the space of children and youth programming, and I think I shared, sir, common observation that we are always obsessed with metrics and numbers. And if you're working in the space of children and youth programming, you identify that metrics can really not encapsulate the magnitude of the work. And we are now introducing this, what we call narrative outcomes-based assessment. So basically, it tracks how the people tell their narratives, because I think that's very important. Poverty is the best example. We can all say that our country is increasing in GDP, but the changes of how people tell their life stories actually never change over time. And same with learning, for example. So how does the stories or the narratives of our students are being told over time? So if our learners now are claiming that they are depriving of quality learning, they don't have, or they still suffer from classrooms, in inequality or in inequality, and same thing we'll be hearing in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, then I think we're not really doing that much. Because, of course, the needs and how people perceive and tell their stories is for us a more valid measure on how things are actually changing over time. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for that lovely sharing.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Lei, for the question, which I think sparked off quite a lot of things that resonated with me. The question was, how do we effectively measure change? I'm an educator from Singapore. My name is Cheng Ying, or you can call me Claire. I think progressively, we need to look at what we call self-assessment, meaning to say, is the learner able to assess himself or herself and to make sense of his or her own experiences? I share your troubles that we need to increasingly broaden the typologies to look beyond just quantitative measures. And I would like to offer some hope in two ways. The first way is that our learners should be able to self-assess themselves. And let's look at the range of technologies that are affordable and perhaps free. I know that smartphone penetration is probably not very high across the entire region, but we have platforms be like TikTok or Instagram. And in my school, what we have done is that we have these account handles, that are handled by the students themselves. In other words, they have student life platforms, and they make use of these platforms in order to make sense of their own stories and experiences. The second thing that I want to share, which I hope can make everyone feel a bit more hopeful, is that I hope we know that we may not reap what we are sowing now. Meaning to say, most of us are here because of some efforts that were put in by someone maybe 10 years or 15 years. So we may not see the efforts of what we are doing now, but in time to come, 5, 10, 15 years, I think we'll be able to see something very beautiful based on what we are trying to sow at this very moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. I think that's a very amazing message that we might not get right now what we're sowing, but we're planting for the future.
Hello. Hello everyone, I'm Leia from Department of Education here in the Philippines. So the question is, how will we effectively evaluate a change? So for me, there is no single indicator to completely provide us a picture of change. So it is necessary for us to use multiple measures, such as combining qualitative, and those are the narratives, the stories, the anecdotes, and of course, supplementing it with data coming from quantitative. So those are our self-assessments, surveys, and other measures under quantitative. So that's it.
Thank you so much,
you so
Miss
much. Yes.
Leia from DepEd. Let's also look at our Padlet board. Maybe we have some questions. This is, I think, for UNESCO. To what extent youth involved in the follow-up and pillars? Countries in Southeast Asia or where UNESCO worked with, what strategy do you involve youth on? How do you refuel communication with them, if there's any? That's 3 questions.
Wow, okay. I'll pass it on to Ilan, actually, right after. No, I mean, so youth engagement was involved from the inception of the of tests and throughout the follow-up at different levels. So actually across the different pillars. At national level, countries are encouraged, again, the idea, if you remember that first principle, that it needs to be a whole of society effort, so meaning also that youth are involved. And the second principle, the one that was like at the bottom in my list, was about it should be youth-led. So because those are foundational principles, it doesn't mean that it's like in one pillar, it's actually across all pillars. And then again, through the, like at the global level, we have the SDG for youth leaders, and you can tell us a little bit more about that model and how it works. But again, the idea is involvement should be across. Just one message is, I mean, Ilan was talking about that, about spaces. I think I would invite you, don't wait for permission. Go ahead and create, force the door open into those discussions.
Thank you, Ms. Amaya. Yes, I heard the exact same thing from the UN Youth Envoy, from the Secretary General, from everyone high level at the United Nations. If there's no seat at the table, you pull up a chair, right? So you have to really take initiative and take charge. I will actually save some of my answer for tomorrow because I will have an opportunity to speak and I don't want to take up your time. But what I will say is I will agree with some of the questions and connect it to this question, that youth are involved with the whole transforming education movement. This event specifically is the perfect opportunity for us to build an army in a way, because when we were still at TESS, there are quite few of us who are involved with it, and we need help, and I know you are ready to help. We know you want to be involved, and tomorrow we'll be explaining everything that's going to be happening after the follow-up to this event, because I'm sure that's the question. This event is a follow-up to TESS and to the Youth Declaration launch, but what happens after tomorrow, right? What happens with our presentations? What happens? And I'm so excited to share them with you tomorrow. But for now, I did want to echo the importance of both narratives and quantitative data. And I just wanted to share that I was just on a meeting a few weeks ago where we were really, the young people were really trying to push the headquarters of UNESCO to collect narratives and not just focus on the quantitative collection of data. So yes, yes, yes. So everything everyone said. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think that's the end of our open dialogue and conversations. We hope we can give more time, but the Padlet will still be here, and then we can continue to engage and converse with each other by using the Padlet board.
Sure. Thank you very much to everyone for engaging in this active participation. And sure, we would like you to introduce to the next session of intention setting, where we will also invite our friend from our core group, Nhi, from Vietnam, to join and facilitate this session. May we give her a big round of applause, please.
Thank you, Prim and Josh. Good morning, everyone. I'm Nhi. I'm also a member of the core group. I'm so glad to meet you all here today, and I hope that you enjoy your time in the Philippines. Okay, I think that it's been quite a morning, so I think we should relax a bit, okay? Okay, everyone, let's take a deep breath. Inhale and exhale 3 times, okay? Okay, let's start. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Yeah, do it better. Yeah, so when you come here, we know that you may bring your intention coming to the summit, and we really want to hear that from you, your intention, that why you're here, and what is your intention when coming to this summit. So now, may I have my fellow members? Yeah, can you please distribute the all participants here some sticky notes, so all the participants, you can think about your intention, and please write down everything you have in the sticky notes. Let's spend around 5 minutes on the activity, and please be as specific as possible when writing down your intention. For example, my intention is because I want to scale up my projects. So I'm kind of looking for some funding sources or some other non-kind support from the government, UN, CSO, or other stakeholders to have my projects. So please try to think about it. What about your project, your innovation about, and what do you need and what do you want, and write them down. Let's just spend 5 minutes on this.
2 minutes left. All right, thumbs up. Hope everyone have written down everything. C2 and back, can you collect all the sticky notes? Participant, can you please pass on the sticky note to my fellow members, C2 and back? In the meantime, is there anyone here in the room would like to share about what you have written down? Okay. Can you please introduce yourself and share with us?
Good morning. I am Joy Miss Celeste from Valenzuela City, Philippines. My intentions here is to speak the voices of out-of-school youth. As we tackled about transforming education, we must focus on out-of-school youth because as I am also experiencing, because before I was an out-of-school youth before, and also in transforming education, one of the problems that we are facing today is, for example, in our school, and my classmates, and every year we facing a lot of classmates that they will drop out because of some of the reasons. That's why I want, my intentions is to speak the voices of out-of-school youth. We're talking about transforming education. I want that in out-of-school youth also they will transform, to go back to colleges, to go back to the education, and they want to be there. I want, and OSY also they will transform to become what they want to be. Their dreams became, because as is said earlier, there's no one to be left out. So I am also interested, or to speak here, or to be here to hear the voices of out-of-school youth. And I am really touched of the presentations here, because that's what people now in our times needs, that we need to hear them, hear the voices of youths. Because as I am also youth, I am experiencing, I faced a lot of challenging here in our country, and here in every day of my lives, I face a lot. That's why I am really excited, and I was impressed of the presentations that we are here to transform education.
Thank you so much. Amazing. Very inspiring. Is there anyone else would like to share? Yes.
Okay, so what is my intention for this summit? So I came here to have an in-depth knowledge about transforming education, which is an integral part of my profession and passion, which is teaching our students to become global citizens and leaders in the future. So yes.
Great, thank you so much. Anyone else?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Erica Abilito from General Santos City of the Philippines. So aside from mobilizing and transform education, I am here as a voice of the voiceless youth, of out-of-school youth, and to learn more and to enhance my leadership. Also, I want to learn from my fellow out-of-school youth and also the youth of the different countries. And that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, am I now giving back the floor to Josh and Prim? Thank you so much for this. I hope you will enjoy the rest of your summit.
Thank you so much, Ni, for facilitating that very insightful and mindful part of the session. And to everyone who shared, we're so happy that you're here. We're so happy that we're occupying space here, and we have this 2-day summit to continue and share our recommendations moving forward. And yes, we can very well use our intentions that you've just written, and please make sure that it's posted or you've given it to the core group member for our presentation of innovations this afternoon. But you will just read the mechanics.
Okay, sure. Now we would like to present the mechanics of the presentation that everyone will be presenting during the afternoon. We have the next slide, please. Okay, so our youth summit will be here on capturing grassroots innovation, and that's the core and that's the heart of what we are doing, is to sharing innovations and to collaborate further on strategies that will be a system-wide and reform our education system.
Yes, so let us make sure that we listen, we share, we collaborate, we analyze the project, and have concrete recommendations every after session of the sharing of innovations. Next slide. So we will have 8 thematic areas for the 2-day summit.
Yes, we will have entrepreneurship, digital learning and transformation, learning through arts and technology, and inclusive education that embrace creativity, diversity.
Yes, and we also have sessions on youth leadership, environmental resilience, psychosocial and mental well-being, and learning support. Next slide.
Yes, sure. And the time of the presentation will be on 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And we would like to kindly ask the presenters to be there by 12:45 to prepare for the presentation. It will start right on time on 1 p.m. And you will have 20 minutes for your presentation and another 5 minutes for burning question and Q&A. And audience, you are feel free to also visit many rooms and many breakout sessions to explore further ideas.
Yes, and while doing so, you may collect pins because there will be a specific pin for each thematic area. So please make sure to visit all of 8 so that you will have 8 pins. Next slide. And after this very brief round of reminders, we will be going to the International House that is there to witness an opening of an art exhibit entitled Ugma, ang ugnayan ng sining at teknolohiya, or in English, Ugma means tomorrow, the connection between science, art and technology. There's no science, it's art and technology. Sorry.
Yeah, and it was very interesting to see their connection between art, learning that art can foster creativity, critical thinking, and problem-solving skills. And we can see amazing exhibition of different arts as well.
Yes. And also our lunch break. This will be our area, 2nd floor lobby of the main building, 3rd floor lobby of the main building, and porch of the executive room. So also just to manage the people, please be informed that for the executive boardroom, it can only accommodate 50, 2nd floor can accommodate 60, and 3rd floor can accommodate 90 people. So yes. And for facilitators of breakout rooms, please proceed to the 3rd floor lobby and the main building for lunch. So all facilitators will eat the lunch at the 3rd floor lobby so that we can also have the last minute instructions.
Yes, sure. Thank you very much, Joshua. And now,
yes.
And now we would like to invite everyone to have a big group photo together, which is outside this main hall, and when we will go to the art exhibition together.
Yes. So we will all stand. And please, if you haven't submitted your post-it yet, give it to there or post it there. So a few reminders, post-it, photo ops, art exhibit, lunch that will end, start by 12 noon, and then the time for session.
Sure.
which will
Thank you
start
very
at
much, everyone.
12:45. Thank you
Yeah,
so
thank
much,
you so